Hello, BookTube. I've got a little mail for you today on a warm, sunny spring Saturday here in New England. Just absolutely lovely. No humidity, no wind, no rain. 75 degrees Fahrenheit, as it was for the last 30 days, as it's going to be for the rest of time, for the rest of this Milankovitch cycle. Uh, so I thought we'd open the mail together. I will open the mail in spiritual brotherhood with young Ben Dunlap, who is a spiritual brother of mine and will be here in the room to help me open mail and then indulge in wine and calzones in only 10 years. It'll be 10 years before he does that, but it'll be worth the wait because we'll have a lot of bookish stuff to talk about. So, hello, Ben. Let's open the mail, shall we? Let's see what we have. We've only got 2 packages. But they might contain something interesting. Certainly, this has been an interesting, good week for mail. Let's see here. Let's see what this first one is. What have we got here? Okay, this comes out in February. So this is a long way off. So in terms of the professional view of book mail, early February, that's perfectly positioned for you to pitch this now to an editor. Because most book section editors are going to have their sections nailed down for the rest of this year. They know perfectly well, lazy slugs that they are, that they're not going to want to do any work in December. So they'll have as much of that stuff out and commissioned as possible so that they can crawl back to their cubicles at the beginning of the new year and start thinking about what their plans are for 2025. So if they can commission something for early February that looks likely to them, they certainly will. So what have we got here? This is a novel by Brittany Newell called Soft Core. And that's the cover. Okay. The publicist says, my first audible gasp while reading this book came after about 13 pages, though there would be more. The novel is set in contemporary San Francisco and deals with, shall we say, hanky-panky. And it's bound to have a few shocks and surprises. But the biggest jolt the book ultimately delivers is that exhilarating feeling of discovering a voice that feels truly fresh and new, of being swept up in an imagination that is simply unlike any other you've encountered. Okay, all right, so this is a debut. Is that right? You're not telling me about the author. Oh no, this is not a debut. The author has written a book before. Well, we're discussing this together, young Ben and I. This is a singularly inappropriate beginning book, but we didn't have to get into any kinds of specifics in order to discuss the fact that if this is about hanky-panky, if this is about adults fooling around, if it's about adult subject matter, that's going to be a really hard pitch to an editor, because despite what you might read elsewhere on social media, no one wants to read about that. And also, if you are a newspaper book section editor, you're going to have paying subscribers. You're going to have a readership. And that's going to be composed of teachers, housewives, homemakers, doctors, nurses, people that don't want to read about this. And they're not going to like the fact that you include a review of a book like this. So this book has 2 strikes against it right away. A lot of book section editors don't like early fiction. They like to wait until you've established a name. And also, a lot of them don't want saucy or risque subject matter. So good luck to the author. I will probably write about this, but in February. But I don't know what other editor would. It'll be a tough sell to do because of the subject matter. And that, Ben is too young to have experienced directly a whole bunch of things, but he knows that, right? Ben, if I'm talking to you directly, you know that. If somebody writes a book about train timetables, a whole book about the timetables of commuter trains, that's not a subject that's going to fly. If you are a book section editor, you're going to look at that and say, well, all the best wishes in the world to the author, but my readers will not be interested in that. And the same thing probably is true here. I mean, there is an element, definitely. There is an element. The publicity sheet might not be wrong. there is an element of how well it's done. I mean, if we look at Western canon, at the books that are going to be assigned to you in school, oh God, God help your students, Ben. You are so far ahead of most of your teachers. God help them when they finally reach you. But a lot of the books that you're going to be assigned in school have very unsavory subject matter. They've managed to make it into the canon anyway because of how well done they are. I mean, I don't know how much Shakespeare you've read, but think about Othello. It's a play entirely driven by brutal, violent jealousy. That's a very ugly subject, and yet there it is in the canon. And plenty of other examples, too, all the way from Othello to 1984. So it can happen that the author's sheer amount of talent actually jumps that divide. That can happen. But it's rare. It's rare. I don't know that we can really expect it here, so... but anyway, it's February, it's next year, so I don't need to worry about it. So let's go on to this next one. Let's go on to this next one and see if this is in any way more appropriate. I'm sure that in many ways Ben is much older than I am already. But let's see. Oh, okay, great. All right. Shoo, much better. This is a finished copy of something that we've already seen. This comes out in late November, exactly 1 month from today. So if you haven't already pitched the advanced copy that we saw a month ago, probably it's too late for you to pitch this as a review unless you're pitching to me or some other, fairly loosey-goosey review journal. I am an editor for Open Letters Review. Looks like it's going to be a big one. Should probably stop. Oh, it's ear-piercing. At 7 minutes. Is a completely calm Saturday afternoon in spring. It's warm, it's beautiful, the birds have come back from migration, the cold snap that we had for 2 days last week is over. It was a tough winter. There are no emergencies within 100 miles of here. Nothing burning, no burglaries, no homicides, nothing. Nothing. But you don't want to wait at the intersection, so you'll blast the sirens. But anyway, as I was saying, this book is actually a very good candidate to pitch to an editor, but not now. If you haven't done it already, most of your editors are going to be locked in by now. At Open Letters Review, we are not. But most of them will be. But the book is something we've already seen. It's Daniel Light's book, The White Ladder, which is about the beginning of mountaineering. This is about the early days before Gore-Tex, before canned air, before GPS, before rescue helicopters, before anything like that, when people went up mountains with almost no gear, what we would consider barbaric conditions. And this comes out on November 19th. And the author himself is a climber, which is, I haven't read the advanced copy of this, but that's bound to add heft to this thing, that he actually knows what he's talking about. He's not just researching. Let's see here. Whether in the name of conquest, science, or the divine, humans across the centuries have had myriad reasons to climb mountains. From smoking volcanoes of South America to the great snowy ranges of the Himalaya, this book follows a cast of extraordinary characters, conquistadors and captains, scientists and surveyors, alpinists and adventurers, up the slopes of the world's highest mountains, seeking the summits of the world's highest peaks. With thrilling pace and novelistic detail, the author traces the epic rise of mountaineering's world altitude record and highlights the roles of local guides and indigenous mountaineers whose feats are too often eclipsed by their white European counterparts. Okay. All right. They have liberal, heavy amounts of spotlight in literally every first-hand account by literally all of those mountaineers, going back literally 300 years. So I don't know about the eclipse bit. I know you have to say that in 2024, but if they've been eclipsed, then I don't know what that says about the normal state of sunlight. Describing the innovative technical accomplishments of the climbers, the author shows how each new breathtaking ascent heightened the spectacle of their dangerous sport. This book is a story of the true pioneers of high-altitude mountaineering, whose experiences cast new light on the eternal question, why climb mountains? Okay, I'm going to resist quoting from Star Trek V when Mr. Spock asked Captain Kirk that exact same question and gets the only answer because it's going to bug you, because it's there, because it's going to bug you if you don't try. I never had this bug. I've known in my life 3 people who did. 3 alpinists, 3 climbers who, if they couldn't afford the money for a plane ticket, if they couldn't get the right clearances from hostile governments to go to the mountain that they want, they still couldn't help themselves. They would go to the nearest rock formation near their house and just climb it in the most dangerous way. Or one of them climbed buildings because he had the bug so bad. Some people just have this bug really bad. They see it and they have to climb it. And I've been way up on the slopes of very, very big mountains, including up to a couple of base camps up on Everest itself. And your body starts to change. Your body starts to die at a certain point. At a certain altitude, everything changes. Because the mountains are, to quote from Tolkien, they're up on the hard horn of the world. And they aren't meant for people at all. So there's not meant for anything alive at all. So it's amazing. The higher up you go, it's amazing to contemplate that some people went all the way with no more equipment than you have now, and lived. Were badly damaged, but lived. That's amazing. Just amazing. Now, of course, that's foreign. Now there are conveyor lines to the top of Everest. Now people who are blind or who are in wheelchairs or are completely paralyzed can be conveyed to the top of Everest and back down again safely. Except in rare freak circumstances, they can be. But once upon a time, now that's only possible because of all the advances in science and technology and climbing technology. Once upon a time, you were entering an alien world. That's what the top of a mountain is. That's actually what the top of the planet, the poles of the planet are the same way. Not quite as extreme, but when you are way out in the middle of Antarctica, you definitely feel that you are on a different planet, or that you're on the uttermost extreme of this planet. And that the thought that kept crossing my mind when I actually was in that position was, there's nothing between me and the rest of the solar system. Which is, of course, true no matter where you are on Earth. If you're on the surface of Earth, there's nothing between you and the rest of the solar system except the atmosphere. But at the extreme poles, it feels different. And I can only imagine what it feels like on the top of Mount Everest. I always joke on this channel, I'm sure that Ben knows this since he watches my channel regularly, that I have been everywhere. But I have not been to the top of Mount Everest or any of the 7 summits. I have never done that. I've never done serious alpinism. So I can only imagine what it feels like to be on the top of K2 or Everest, to be on the top of one of the tallest mountains in the world, looking out on, and everything all around you is below you. That must be incredible. I can't imagine what that would be like. To be up there, and not only be up there, but to face the ordeal of coming back down. But anyway, so this is of interest. This is an outdoorsy type sports thing, and since it deals with the kind of sports endeavor that no one alive has now done, I mentioned that there's a line of tourists who can go to the top of Mount Everest, but they can't go like this. No one has done this. There might be extreme alpinists who do this for fun, but they know that they have rescue within a minute's beck and call. This is a vanished world. These kind of climbers is a vanished world. And that is an immediate and universal appeal to a book section editor. They're all frustrated athletes. They're all going to want to do this. It's only the timing now that would stop you from pitching this to somebody because it's too late. If you're getting the finished copy and you haven't already pitched the advanced copy, it's too late. Probably. But anyway, that's the mail, young Ben. Someday we will do this together. So it's just 2 books, and one of them I don't think is any more your taste than mine. This thing I don't think is any more your taste than mine. And then there's another one about mountain climbing, about the earliest years of mountain, the really heroic years of mountain climbing, when you didn't have anything like what climbers have now, where they can bring a medical kit with them, with loaded syringes and whatnot. Nothing like that existed 100 years ago. And yet people still felt the call to try it. So anyway, that is the mail. Sorry for the background noise. I don't know what this person's doing in their backyard, but they've been at it all morning. I don't know, something about this weird risque book is making me think that I should probably do another virtual mail opening with young Ben. So I'll probably do that next week, because this doesn't feel like the right inaugural video. But it's nice to see you, and I will wrap this up for now, and I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube and Ben.